Well, hello, FME friends. Welcome to the fifth and penultimate update to the 12 Days of FME contest for 2022. Things are progressing nicely, and the Lizard is now in London, and the Zipster is now in Washington, D.C. A little bit of controversy, I think, about London and the coordinates being wrong in the city data set. I guess that was a little bit of a tricky one, but the partner that was listed against London is one that was only in London, UK. So I hoped that was a clue to show you that those flights really belong to London in the UK. Anyway, so what's happening in this round? Well, we have to move them on again. It's pretty much the same scenario as before. So the same workspace should really run. The only thing that's changed this time is we've switched the preferences over. So the Lizard wanted a morning meeting and the Zipster wanted an afternoon, and we've flipped that round. So now the Lizard wants an afternoon meeting and the Zipster wants the morning. Why did we do that? Well, it wasn't just to mess you about. It's because if you see this graphic, you can see that as the contest goes on, the Lizard moves up into Europe, Zipster went into New Zealand, then moved on to Dubai, and then moved on to DC, while the Lizard is still going around in Europe. And if I want them to get back to Vancouver at roughly the same time, then I need to get the Lizard over the Atlantic, but still in time for a meeting. So he's on a pretty tough schedule there, I guess. You fly out of London at 7 a.m. or something and have a meeting in North America in the afternoon. That's a pretty tough schedule. But anyway, so that's the reason why we switched those around, just to make sure we can get them roughly to Vancouver at the same time. So the flight schedulers apologize for the error. They hope there are no more errors in today's work. Well, I think there was one. It wouldn't really have made a huge amount of difference, and you should have noticed it from the result. But there's a flight, Reykjavik to Houston, has an extra comma in there, and if you don't do anything about that and you leave it in there, well, in my workspace, it makes the right flight arrive 11th of November 2034. So it was because it was counting it as 100,000 hours, 9 minutes, 14 seats available, and throwing away that last bit of data. So 100,000 hour flight would take you to 2034. So that was the problem that needed to be repaired, and just that extra comma coming out of there. So that was the only data fix. But again, that should have been a fairly obvious one, I would hope. So this is my data output again, sorted by the landing time. What have we got? We've got some going from Washington. So they've got to go from Washington for the Zipster. That one gets 9:59, 9:58. So those are too late. 9:10, that's too late. 8:59 into Dallas, that'd be great, except that flight leaves at 06:45, which is before the Zipster gets to the airport. The flight to Philadelphia, 08:59, fantastic, except no seats available. So that's another one that we can't do. So what it comes down to is this flight into Houston arrives at 8:57. Now, it wasn't due to arrive at 8:57, but that flight number, what flight number was it again? 801, 20 minutes early due to light traffic at destination. So basically it would have arrived there 09:17, but it arrived there 08:57 instead. So that's how that sneaks in under the wire. And this almost gave me a heart attack watching this as well, because I looked at the results and thought, I've done something wrong. That flight leaves Washington at 06:40, not 7 o'clock. And I'm like, I messed it up. The reason I thought that, and it was just a stupid thing really, the changes that are in that status file, I put them into here and applied them to the local takeoff time, and then they sort of ripple through all the way. So actually that takeoff time is 20 minutes earlier than it should be. It's just me not really looking what I'm doing and misinterpreting the data in there. So that threw me for a second. I thought I'd messed up the data, but I haven't. So yeah, Houston is where we're sending the Zipster. The Lizard wants to get in for 3 o'clock or as close as possible. There's a Los Angeles, Montreal, London to Montreal, 15:20. Reykjavik to Los Angeles, 15:20. London to Phoenix, 14:35. But I'm sort of skipping around the one. Reykjavik to Montreal arrives at 15:02. So the only thing we've got to make sure is that we can get to Reykjavik to catch that flight. Let's see. Oh, and the other reason as well, it got delayed by 12 minutes, which actually makes it more suitable because it would have been 10 minutes the wrong side of 3 o'clock. Now it's just 2 minutes the wrong side. So the delay actually made it a better flight for us. So what was I saying? So yes, we've got to make sure we can get to Reykjavik before we go to Montreal. So we'd have to leave London. So London to Reykjavik leaves London at 07:40. That's fine. They were at the airport at 7. They've got 5 seats available. So that was flight number SFE 003, sorry. And that is there. So that arrives at 10 a.m. local time. And the flight from Reykjavik to Montreal doesn't leave till 13:45. So yeah, there you've got like almost 3 hours, over 3 hours to wait in Reykjavik. But then it's the Reykjavik to Montreal flight that gets in at 15:02. So that should be pretty straightforward. So there's the answers for today. The Lizard goes to Montreal, flight SFE 445, gets in at 2 minutes past 3 in the afternoon. And the Zipster went to Houston on flight SFE 801 and got in at 8:57. So if you got those answers, 6 points. Nice work. So let's have a look at the quiz answers. So this is obviously trivia about London and DC. One historic location in Washington, D.C. was the Bohemian Caverns. What was it? It was, because it isn't anymore, but it was an underground jazz club. Literally an underground. You sort of go in and then down the stairs into like a cellar, but it was like carved out of rock almost. It was quite incredible. I've been there, otherwise I wouldn't know that. But yeah, it was pretty amazing. So yeah, and I can definitely recommend Washington as a place to visit. It really is a pretty incredible city. And it's got the National Air and Space Museum. Variety of crafts such as Apollo 11 capsule, Spirit of St. Louis, blah, blah, blah. The Breitling Orbiter. So what did the Breitling Orbiter achieve to make it so special? Well, it was the first balloon to fly around the world non-stop. If I remember rightly, it took off from somewhere in Switzerland, flew, obviously it's flying eastbound because the winds and the rotation of the Earth, blah, blah, blah. So it took off from Switzerland, flew all the way around the world, back across the Atlantic, and landed, I think it was in Egypt or something like that. So, yeah, that was on display there. So, pretty amazing. I don't think it was a balloon envelope as such, just the capsule. But, yeah, incredible to think they spent so long in that thing. Washington's signature food. I'd never heard of this until I looked it up. And it's called a half smoke, and it's a hot dog made of half beef and half pork. That's the half, and the smoke is it's been smoked. So it's like a hot dog basically, except it's half beef, half pork, and it's smoked. So yeah, if you go to Washington, have that. But I was there and I never even saw that, so it just shows I wasn't paying attention then. The United States Capitol building is the center of the street numbering and quadrant. So all of the streets in Washington, I think it's like letters instead of numbers as well, which really confuses things. But right in the middle of that numbering system is the United States Capitol building, and that is the meeting place for federal government members. Not just a state. Well, in fact, Washington, D.C. isn't a state, so it wouldn't have state government, and it's not municipal, it's federal government members. And it's not the United Federation of Planets, which of course is from Star Trek. Okay, so that's Washington, D.C. Let's look at London. UNESCO World Heritage Site, home to the Royal Observatory, and location of the Prime Meridian. So, I mean, as map makers, that means a lot. Well, most of us are spatial data experts, I guess. So that means a lot to us with the Prime Meridian there. But which borough in London are we talking about? It is Greenwich, sometimes called the Greenwich Meridian, Greenwich Mean Time. Yeah, so you probably knew that already. Many of Shakespeare's plays performed at a particular theatre in London. What is the name of that theatre? The map related. It's not the Projection, it's not the Atlas, it's not the Open Street Theatre, it is the Globe. And yeah, lots of his plays opened in that theatre, played there for the first time. Harry Beck, I don't know if you know the name, but you'll certainly know what he designed. It was the London Underground map. I think that's been copied all over the world as a means of showing transportation as a schematic rather than an actual spatially offset in the correct dimensions, if I can put it that way. So yeah, that's what Harry Beck did. And excuse me. And since 1895, the Henry Wood Promenade Concerts is a summer festival of classical music concerts, and it is held in the Royal Albert Hall in London. So, yeah. So those are the 8 answers for today. If you got those all right, then that's another 8 points, another 8 entries into the draw. And if you got all of the solution right for this, that would be another, what would it be there? 18 entries, I guess, into the draw, because each question is worth 3 points, and there's 2 flights, and you need the date, the location, and the flight number. So yeah, so if you got everything all right, that's a lot of entries into this, into the draw. So anyway, thanks for again for playing along. If you're still playing and watching his videos, fantastic. Thank you. I was going to, I should have been in Vancouver now, but my flight, I couldn't get to the flight, I couldn't get to the airport because there's so much snow where I live. It would have been too tough to drive there. So I'm going to be in Vancouver, in my home in Manitoba instead. Monday I'm going to try and live stream rather than just record a video. So we will do that live. We'll announce the results live. I'll draw the winners live as well. And there you go. So we'll do that live straight away once we've got a list of everyone who's won. And yeah, so hopefully I'll see you on Monday. So thanks again for watching all this, and I'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye folks.